Hi, I'm Jenny Hougah, and I am a realistic painter and an art instructor. We're here today. We're going to be doing some painting together with acrylic paint, and our project is called Geopoppin'. So, Geopoppin' with acrylic paint. This is set for 6th to 8th graders. So, welcome. A little bit about our project today. We'll use canvas paper and acrylic paint to create 5 paintings based on interesting designs that you'll create. You'll get plenty of experience mixing paint and painting, as well as becoming familiar with some artist terms. Okay, the project 1, we are going to make overlapping shapes that pop. Now this is kind of going to look like a topographical map. So the first step is going to be to wet your brush, and I'm going to grab some blue, because our first step is to create a background color. I love green. So I am going to make kind of a dark green background color. And I'm just going to mix it on, this is the palette paper. So I'm going to mix it in the palette paper to create a kind of cool color. I'm going to paint the whole thing. And it's kind of watery, see that? It's a little watery, but that's okay because it will dry. And I kind of like how I can see my paintbrush marks. So I'm just kind of going to do this a little bit. And I ran out of color, so I have to make more. There we go. And I'm just going to kind of just go like this and paint the whole surface like that. As you see, you may have to hold your paper down a little bit, either on the sides or like this, or before you start, you can tape it down. But I decided to just keep it like this because I can go over my finger marks very easily. Okay, great. So I have painted my whole surface of my painting paper, my mixed media canvas paper, and now I am ready to go on to the next step, which is to draw a shape around the outside with my pencil. All right, I'm going to make it kind of dip in a little bit. So I'm just going to keep drawing shapes inside of each area. So now that I've drawn this one outer shape, I am going to leave the outside this color, just what it is. But on the inside, I'm going to paint a new color. I'm going to add a little bit of blue. I'm going to add a little bit of red. And maybe a little bit of white. Just see how that looks. Just going to paint right on top. So it is going to mix because my undercolor is still wet a little bit. Not totally wet. But because it's a little wet, it may mix with it. If you don't want them to mix, you just have to wait until it is fully dry to paint on top of it. Okay, so I have filled in my shape that I had drawn with the pencil. So I filled it in with this red and white mixture, and I just put it right on top of the other mixture from before. So I took that and I filled it all in. Now that it is filled in, I can draw another shape on top with my pencil. Now this one is kind of a different funky shape. And I'm going to leave everything that is on the outside of my new shape the way it is. And everything that's inside, I am going to paint over with a new color. And I think I'm gonna do a yellow mixed in there. Let's see how it goes. Now, I actually have not rinsed out my brush at all. My brush hasn't really been needed to be rinsed out because I am just using the same area to mix my paint, and I'm mixing it on top of areas that have already been covered with paint. So this is a design I'm trying to go on. So with this one shape, I kind of want it to be a little bit more vibrant. So I am going to have to let this dry a few minutes. So I'm going to rinse off my paintbrush, let it dry, maybe 2 or 3 minutes. The acrylic paint should be dry enough to paint on top of with a fresh layer of yellow. Now again, with the smaller shape inside, choosing another color to put in there. I'm just going to mix white in there, see what happens. Sometimes you just have to see what happens when you are making an art project. So the main thing is to be curious. So each of the spaces outside of here, we are not going to touch. We're only going to touch the area that is inside of the next shape. So all of these are all dry. My blue, my lavender, my kind of yellowy color, and then my light, very light yellow. It's almost like a white. Now on the inside, I'm going to make kind of a smaller, I'm just going to leave that. I want to try to get maybe a little creative and do smaller shapes inside. Just see what happens. It's like 3 peas in a pod. I guess maybe I'll try to make it green. Taking care to just go up to my line and not go around it. That green does not look the best. It looks kind of blue. So, because I know blue and yellow make green, I'm gonna add a little bit more yellow. And now that the spaces that I'm painting, that I'm filling in, are getting smaller, now my paintbrush marks have to get a little bit more careful so that I don't go over the lines that I drew. All right. Now I've drawn little tiny shapes inside of those shapes, and it almost looks like there's an indentation. You can't even see the actual pencil mark. It's like the pencil took away the paint, which I kind of like. But I'm going to grab some red, since that is not really represented on my page yet. See, you can see what happens. And something you can also do, since you know that the shape is very, very small, you can just kind of color it in with your pencil, because you know it's going to take off some of the paint. And if you want to take off your paint here, you can. All right, now I'm going to fill it in. All right, so now I have a painting that is fully complete. And I started out making the shapes. All right, awesome. So I have finished my geopop, and I can decide which way I want to orient my painting when I hang it on the wall. So I started out with an underlayer where I painted the whole sheet, and then I put shapes on top of it. Now the one thing to remember with this is that it still needs to dry, so be careful. And also, once it is dry, you can go on top of it with a pencil or anything else and do little details if you ever wanted to in any of the shapes. But that is totally out of the realm of painting. But you can just put this right on your wall as a final product.